Getting betrayed sucks, no matter how you slice it. But what separates being betrayed from experiencing betrayal trauma, that narcissistic abuse, in all essence, comes from the nature of this betrayal isn't the result of a single act or isolated series of events, but rather it is being repeatedly betrayed in the most fundamental ways possible while you were fighting your hardest, investing all of your time and energy, standing beside and having the back of someone continuously stabbing you in yours any chance that they could, that in the end wasn't just but a waste of time, but was literally for nothing because none of it was real, the good or the bad. The entire thing was but a big scam. A scam that the only way they could possibly pull off came along with having to keep you trapped in their one-man insane asylum from hell that they specially handcrafted and designed just for you, leaving you so utterly exhausted from the prolonged torture that's not just a violation of trust by someone that you previously had considered to be a relied upon anchor in your life. It's the complete annihilation of the very essence of the person that you once were, and no longer having the capability of thinking that you can trust yourself. It feels almost as if trying to mourn your own death. And while I don't know about you, all of the funerals I have ever been to, the person whose funeral it wasn't in attendance, which would explain why this isn't exactly something easy to get your head wrapped around. Why this inevitably leads to one repeatedly going down the rabbit hole with the never-ending search of something to serve as a psychological band-aid to dull the pain that in our exhaustive state legitimately do not think we can handle. I will admit that even after my intuition was all but pounding down the door, and that everything that I had both experienced and learned from my degree in psychology as a nurse, as well as educating myself, trying to make sense of things on those days where things seemed so discombobulated and disoriented, as if someone had just shaken the living shit out of reality, had all signs pointing towards the likelihood of things getting better were pretty grim, yet still did everything in my power to try to convince myself otherwise, because I knew deep down that the pain of having to accept it all was going to be excruciating. And it wasn't until getting sucker punched in the gut by this realization in efforts to try to avoid that unnerving sensation, feeling of having wasted 20 years of my life for nothing, only creating the tragic irony, staying in denial from it was further wasting more of my life, and that regardless of whatever mental band-aid I used to help cover up the wounds, still didn't change the outcome of anything or help heal anything. That in reality wasn't just an excuse to not have to deal with the pain, but was also justifying and making excuses for their abusive behavior. And that sometimes our efforts of wanting to make sense of something so much, turn our fixation on needing it to make sense, actually makes the issue more complex, and rather than solving anything, only makes it worse. At the end of the day, evil is evil, wrong is wrong, and abuse is abuse. This is not just some disordered personality. They essentially are in an induced state of psychosis by wanting to remain in denial of reality so they don't have to feel any unwanted feelings that they don't want, and in turn intentionally go about hurting others so that they can feel powerful, getting pleasure out of seeing them suffer without an ounce of guilt, remorse, or a shred of mercy for you. Not only are they psychotic, they are sadistic and inherently evil. It does not matter if you call them a narcissist or toxic jerk, because what they do doesn't change regardless of what label you put on them, nor you're making judgment. When someone is legitimately and intentionally choosing to behave and treat others with such inhumanity and hatefulness, it isn't a matter of judging them, but rather pointing out the truth. Because whether they have actually sat themselves in a chair in front of a psychiatrist to receive any kind of official diagnosis, or if they are someone who has managed to skate by through life without as much as crossing paths with one on the street. It does not matter, because most never get diagnosed. Those that do actually sit in front of them are often misdiagnosed because they are pathological liars who rewrite history to go along with their objective of keeping their delusion alive. Period. They do not think or behave like the average person. They do not see people as something that has feelings or view relationships in terms of connection or bonding. And as much as you want closure or to believe that they have regrets of what they've done, find a way to get them to understand how they've hurt you. Hope that they can somehow, some way change. It's not going to happen. Nothing about the person that you thought you met before anything that they said was real. None of it. And it is a son of a bitch of a pill to have to swallow. But the thing to remember is that it has nothing to do with you. Nothing you could have, should have, or would have done was going to change the outcome. I have met plenty of people throughout my life that have done evil things. I have done things in my life that I would not look at myself as being an angel for. But I have never met personally anyone as inherently evil as what I sadly discovered myself being married to. However, there are plenty of people to which he falls on that list for, not just me, as well as plenty of others who would not even consider or second that there was an evil bone in his body. And only goes to show narcissists can affect so many people as well as trick so many. And by knowing what to look for, accepting the reality of it all, and realizing it has nothing to do with you. It wasn't you that they didn't love. They don't love themselves. They don't love anybody, anything else for that matter. They may have given it their best to erase the person that you are. In the end, they only made you more of a threat than you ever were at the beginning, because by now knowing what you before didn't, and by going about things more cautiously, having the faith in your judgment of being able to recognize the red flags, as well as to go with your gut. You don't need to let the past haunt you, because that is what they want, what they hope for, and what they rely on to keep you right where they want you, and as well as to continue being able to fool everyone else. Fuck them and fuck that. Who you are at the core is still in there. So dig deep and remember who that person is. Remember that that person is worthy and deserving to live the life that we are all only given so much time to be able to experience. Fight for you. Believe in you. Focus on you. Fuck the narcissist.